You built the perfect defense, a structure so dense and tightly sealed that absolutely nothing can get to you. You are perfectly safe, right up until you realize you just built your own tomb. We have this strange, persistent habit when it comes to strategy. We act as if the ultimate goal of existence is to cross a finish line, eliminate every possible threat, and finally lock reality into a state of absolute predictable control. So we build walls, create rigid rules, strict routines, and heavily guarded borders to keep the chaos out. We do this because entropy is real, and the universe is naturally unpredictable. Order feels like survival, and for a while it works. The stone keeps the immediate dangers at bay. But physics has a sense of irony. By sealing out every external threat, you completely shut off the flow of new information, fresh air, and movement. The structure stops acting as a shield and becomes a vacuum. A perfectly sealed environment doesn't preserve what's inside, it suffocates it, cutting off the exact variance and adaptation any living system actually needs to survive. Game theorists call this the behavior of the finite player. This is an operating system designed with one singular objective: to win. And to a finite player, winning means freezing reality into a permanent, controllable state where they can never lose again. Inside this mindset, you hoard resources, you enforce strict compliance, you treat any deviation as a glitch that must be aggressively purged to maintain perfect stability. But the environment outside those walls is doing what it always does, mutating, shifting, and running new experiments. Because the system inside refuses to interact with that chaos, its own evolutionary clock stops ticking. It forgets how to adapt. An architecture that refuses surprise becomes impossibly brittle. It deflects randomized pressure until tension hits the seams. Eventually, the rules shatter under their own weight. This failure comes from succeeding too well, creating a low-entropy containment zone where nothing can grow. There is a completely different way to build. It's called the infinite player strategy. Here, the objective isn't a final static victory. The goal is simply to ensure that the game continues. To keep playing indefinitely, you have to do something that feels incredibly dangerous. You leave intentional gaps in your defenses. You deliberately let small doses of chaos bleed into your system. That low-level friction acts as a continuous stress test. It forces the architecture to learn, stretch, and reorganize. Instead of treating boundaries as solid walls meant to trap you, you treat them as flexible horizons that expand as you move. This shift relies on repetition. When you meet the same environment repeatedly, you encounter the shadow of the future. By absorbing small errors, the system builds a library of responses, accumulating tribal knowledge a rigid fortress can never produce. The infinite architecture survives winter after winter because it refuses to make one specific error. It never mistakes the comfortable rules of today for the absolute reality of tomorrow. Reality has absolutely no interest in pausing the timer just because you demand certainty. The environment will keep moving, with or without your permission. So you look at the historical board, and the pattern becomes obvious. Empires built on total rigidity eventually slump. Networks that retain a calculated, exhausting vulnerability are the ones that manage to stick around. The stone never changes. The sole masterpiece of engineering that protects you from the wind is exactly what keeps you from the horizon. The difference between safety and a sentence is entirely about which side of the gate you're standing on. Which brings us to the actual design of your own life. Look at the rules you've built, the boundaries you enforce, the certainty you chase. Look at the rooms you refuse to leave. You have to ask yourself, are you actually engineering a system flexible enough to survive tomorrow? Or did you just permanently break yourself into today?